This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Lemon's Car Spotting. I'm Eric, and that is Nick. And you should know the deal by now. You see a crappy car, take a photo of it, put it on Instagram, tag it with Lemon's Car Spotting right here. We'll talk about it, and we give out a couple of awards every week, one for the hooptiest and one for the car we would most want to see in Lemons. I will let Nick take it away.
Yep, we have a special proprietary method for choosing that. We've got the Lemons build on the left, the hooptiest on the right. Eric, close your eyes. Tell me when to stop.
Now.
That's the hooptiest. I guess you're doing you're doing the hooptiest. I'm doing the Lemons build.
Oh, man, you were really into that one.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks, so it's good to be back. All right, let's get back into it. Here we go. Oh man, starting off the very West Coast looking scene. It's a Chevy. What is that? A 58 Chevy, something like that? Boy, the Chevy jihad will really get after us for getting that one wrong.
Yeah, I got in trouble once writing for Hot Rod by not knowing my Tri-5s. So this is after that. I couldn't tell you the exact year, but it's kind of got the folded over fins in the back, which I think is a 58, 59, 60 kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that this design was maybe quite as successful as the Tri-5, but
no, I mean, you can tell why, because they took literally everything and crammed it onto the car. They had gone way past the point of excess at this point.
I mean, what is even I know that the quad headlights were in fashion at the time, but then what is underneath them, and why did they feel the need to also add that on top of the quad headlights?
I feel like they're trying to make it look like jet engine intakes from the jet age. But
I guess that's the thing. They always talk about that. There's the rocket age and the jet age, and it affected industrial design to such a large degree. I mean, what age are we living in now, and does that affect aesthetics? I mean, how do you design into a car the hedge fund manager era? I'm not sure that our state in the world is really affecting design that much. So maybe we shouldn't make fun of the jet intakes because we have nothing like it today.
That's right.
All right.
One quick point on these. This is an era that, the boomers don't particularly care for. You can get these cars for a reasonable amount of money, and we're starting to see them in Lemons. There's a 59 Bonneville that runs on the West Coast.
Yeah.
There was like a 59 Studebaker that NSF ran a few years ago. So if you want a really cool looking old car in Lemons, a rolling chassis of something like this can be found for $500-ish bucks. So.
Well, and as evidenced by the fact that it's abandoned in someone's driveway. So $500 my ass, and why you ruin classic need not apply because it's already hit rock bottom.
That's right.
All right, moving on. No, staying in the driveway. Black gold 280ZX. Yeah,
I mean, it's got the black gold wheels and the louvers, but it's black like it's been Bedliner painted. So
yeah. Boy, I don't know. I mean, they never did much for me, honestly. I mean, I think that they're in that sort of weird mid malaise, not as clean and elegant as a 240Z, nor as forward looking as like a Z32, or arguably as iconic as a Z31. But compared to other cars of the time, I think they were decent. Still had a big old L series straight six. It was better screwed together than a lot of stuff.
I was gonna say for, I don't know, what, the 79, 80, 81, whatever this is, it's gonna be probably quicker in a straight line than a comparable Camaro.
Yeah.
And will certainly corner better. So
yep, I would agree with that. And it's got the louvers in the back window.
Louvers really are the slam dunk there.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh, we're going far into the woods to find ourselves in a Isuzu. This is an Isuzu what? Impulse?
It's an Impulse, but as is pointed out by the poster,
wow.
Attack, it is Isunya, I don't know, a Sunfire, the first Sunfires, which I didn't know was a thing.
It's an Isuzu, or did they have another brand called Isunya?
Yeah, it is an Isuzu Impulse that was for whatever reason GM Canada had a different branding, which was a thing that happened off and on like a bunch with the big three. You know, you had Frontenac and Meteor,
Argo,
and, Arcadia.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of American brands that rebadged themselves for Canada. So Isunya is new to me, but that's pretty great.
That's a great idea for a group team, a multi-car team, is all of the Canadian nameplates of American or captive American import vehicles.
Yeah. I don't know much about the GM version, but I do know that the Eagle brand of Chrysler was Mitsubishi's attempt to open the market in Canada, because for whatever reason it was somehow being finagled as a domestic brand, and that was how you could buy a Mitsubishi in Canada, was you bought an Eagle Vista wagon or whatever, you know.
Actually, and knowing General Motors, I would bet money that it's like, well, to sell a Chevrolet, you have to, the corporate licensing fee is $46.97. And General Motors decided we will save that money by going with Isunya.
That's right.
All right.
Either way,
if it says handling by Isunya on the side, that would be
hope so. These had the weird headlight eyebrows.
Yeah, the half pop-up headlights. Where they'd move up like an inch. They knew Isuzu / General Motors. They knew their limitations.
Yeah.
They're like, let's not bite off more than we can chew here. Speaking of handling by Lotus, this was the car that I believe had the handling by Lotus emblem when it was sold here in the States. And we made a parody t-shirt that said handling by Lemons in the same font. And we were so proud of ourselves. And we sold like 6 over the course of 10 years. So
that sounds right.
Still have some on the shelf.
Yeah. Inquire within.
Yeah. Or don't. All right. Oh man. So we're back with Panama Jake. We've talked about this before. Some of the big giant American off-road vehicles in the jungle setting really conjures up images of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger / Tom Clancy drug lord movie where all the bad guys show up in like a fleet of Jeep CJ7s in the forest. So that's I think that's kind of what's happening here. I will say, for a pretty coastal environment, these look pretty well preserved.
Yeah, for sure. The Grand Wagoneer also, I think it's a Grand Wagoneer. Maybe it's an early Cherokee, but I don't know. Those are sweet things. Aside from the fact that they always have the AMC V8 in it.
Well, we had talked about these before. I mean, wasn't there something where they were like tremendously expensive? So there was this brief period of time where like in the 80s high school teen drama, the rich kid's mom would show up in one of these. And at the time it was iconic of wealth. But watching those movies now, it's like, why is that kid's mom, driving a terrible AMC product? He was supposed to be the rich guy.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere once that it was the car with the highest per capita income owners, like in America or something like that. So it was a sign of like suburban wealth, was the Grand Wagoneer.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the same as the Land Rover that's parked down my street on completely flat air suspension. Like at one time it was a status symbol. All right. Here we go.
All of the Corvairs.
Corvair, but it's also what? Is that an early Ranchero on the right?
Yeah, it looks like it. With like the weird compressed pillar or backwards pillar. I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah, that was a thing back then, like the triangular shaped pillar and then the window that slanted in a weird direction was something that showed up in more than one place during that era. That'd be cool to go back to that. Like, have a weird special edition of the Ford Escape that has a triangular thing and like a weird slanty back window.
Not sure what that is in the far background.
Yeah, the kind of rounded shaped looking thing. Well, it's either like a 59 Jaguar or a 2009 PT Cruiser. One of the two.
It's out in the desert, so it may very well be a 12-year-old PT Cruiser.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Thanks, School of Race Car, for that submission. Next up, we've got... Oh, man. This is not the same junkyard as the last photo because we're back in Canada where this is a Chevy Beretta, or is it?
Yeah, it's not, actually. It is apparently a Pontiac Tempest. Again, this has something to do with Chevy's $46 licensing fee that they wouldn't want to pay, I guess.
Man, that is just so bizarre. Because, on the one hand, the Isuzu is like, all right, they just made up something new, some new corporation for that. But on the other hand, Pontiac, what's the difference between that and Chevrolet? Although they did have weird Pontiac models in Canada.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason, they just made the General Motors primary brand for several years was Pontiac. I'm not totally sure.
Very, very strange. Well, if anybody knows the answer to General Motors global marketing, you're the smartest human on earth if you know that. So you're probably, developing your space rocket or whatever. All right.
Should point out, not a Beretta, by the way. That was a Corsica.
Oh, yeah. You are correct.
The Corsica being the 4-door. The Beretta was the 2-door, which I guess the Corsica, which I don't think I've ever actually been in one, which is shocking considering my upbringing. But they had the weird seatbelt runner on the door.
Right. So, the passive safety. So when you open the door, the seatbelt went out with it, creating this sort of limbo wire / guillotine thing that was just in your way at all times.
Yeah, there were two of those that were some ability of American car companies to skirt regulation. You had Ford with the track that ran along the ceiling, and then you had GM with this, if you get in a crash that pulls the door off, you suddenly have no seatbelt. I don't know how.
I mean, if you're in an 87 Corsica and you were in a minor fender bender, what are the chances that the door is going to fly completely off? I mean,
yeah. I mean, the build quality and the chassis sag probably aren't significant enough that it's just going to pop off.
Yeah, absolutely not. All right. God, I'd love to see a video of that crash test.
I bet there's a NHTSA video of it somewhere that is GM is paid to never be unearthed.
It just totally slices the dummy's head off, shoots out of the sunroof. Like, whoa, is that bad? I'm no scientist.
Jenkins, that's going to cost more than $46 for us to bury forever. It's probably in the desert next to all the ET cartridges from Atari.
Oh, God. We already spent the $46 on licensing the Pontiac name in Canada. Oh, man. All right. Yeah. Oh, my God. This is a car that might have had those seatbelts.
It would have, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, God. This is an EXP. Man, rare bird. Now, what was is it also an EXP? What was the weird little Ford 2-seater that had the headlights in the fixed popped up position that was slightly earlier than this?
That was the EXP. So
also
they did this is the mid-generation refresh that lasted like a year, and then Ford was like, we're not ever going to sell any of these things.
Well, I will say, God, what won't I say? I will say that the permanent popped up headlight look is a very strange one, which is maybe a plus for the EXP community. But from a general styling standpoint, the Euro Tempo front end is a huge improvement. That plus the body kit side skirt thing that's going on. So aesthetically, this is much superior, I will say.
Yeah, it almost looks like a good car.
Yeah. Well, and of course, this was in some ways, I think, a response to the Honda CRX, like small, affordable, 2-seat, quote unquote sports car, but front wheel drive, fuel efficient, all those things. And yeah, I mean, the CRX has stood the test of time. I mean, you see nice ones trading for way too much money on Bring a Trailer. I don't think that's entirely happened with the EXP.
Now, this actually predated the CRX by a couple years, but 82 I think was the first year. You could buy them with a turbo for a couple years, which I'm sure was really, really reliable.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure it significantly increased the performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then my revisionist history that was completely wrong, let me revise it into something that's equally wrong but different. Honda saw this and were like, oh man, we have to, I mean, I can do that. Yeah. And then they did. All right.
Oh, there it is. It's a Wheel Scout Indy from
our friend
from the previous episode.
Yeah, has posted Volvo military vehicles in the past. Has now posted, I gotta say, a relatively pedestrian 240SX.
Well, that is a remarkable thing in and of itself, because almost every single one of these has been bought and chopped up and made into a drift car, and is bondoed and zip tied together. What I really love about this is it's in its natural setting, which is in a mini mall at a Red Lobster.
At a Red Lobster, yeah, with the fake, possibly chrome hubcaps slapped onto it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, these, like the Toyota rear drive Toyota Corolla, have been adopted by the drift / sport compact Japanese car enthusiast crowd. They are good cars, generally speaking. Not good enough to not show up in Lemons from time to time. My personal favorite Lemons 240SX, there have been a couple of good ones. There was a good Inspector Gadget Mobile replica because the shape is kind of right.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite one was the Corvette, which was a 240SX to which the team had applied a pretty expertly done C4 Corvette front and rear clip conversion, where they, sectioned the foot or whatever was needed out of the middle of it to make the width match. And I don't know, it looked pretty good.
It's a good one.
All right, next up. Speaking of Mitsubishis, got ourselves a Dodge Ram, a D50, I believe.
Yeah, that is the D50, the Mitsubishi Mighty Max, I believe.
Yep. These are cool. The Plymouth Arrow is the same truck but cooler, I would argue. But when was the last time you saw one of those? Let alone one of these. I don't know. I think it was definitely a cool idea on the part of Dodge to license a compact truck to compete against the likes of Toyota and Nissan. Unfortunately for them, the only one left was a Mitsubishi, but kind of neat.
Also known as the Chrysler of Japan.
Yeah. Exactly.
One of the towns I lived in recently, their brush pickup vehicle was a D50 with a stick. So I see it driving around and time to
Still
stop.
Running.
At 19 miles an hour. It was whatever. But
all right. Moving on. Oh, many to choose from here. We're in Poland.
Oh,
neat.
Wow.
So
where do you start?
Who is the guy in Poland who owns a late 60s, early 70s Cadillac Limo and a fish mouth F-body convertible?
That looks like a Unimog behind it also.
Yeah, I was going to say there's some kind of cab over truck parked behind it. But I guess I'm envisioning that being the normal car of the bunch by Poland standards.
Yeah, No, that's true. I mean, what you're really looking at here is a Lemons team. This is
Yeah.
you've got the Unimog to tow
Yep.
and or run a Lemons rally, and then you got your Class B-ish Camaro and a Cadillac that needs a weight waiver, but we'd be totally happy to see that Fleetwood.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. So
It looks stretched, by the way. The Fleetwood does.
Yeah, it does. It's got the extra window in the quarter window area. I think that's one of those pseudo factory, if not completely factory, limousine versions with probably a 500 cubic inch motor in it.
Yeah, hella sweet.
Hella sweet. All right, that brings us to the end. I guess let's see. You've got the hooptiest this week, so
yeah,
take it away.
Boy, man, this is a tough one. This was a really good set of cars. I mean, you had the driveway Chevy, the 58 ish,
Sure,
and you had two Canadian market General Motors ish products.
Yep.
Boy, I gotta go. I think I have to go with the 1990 Pontiac Tempest, also known as the Chevy Corsica. I don't know why I couldn't. I know why I couldn't remember Corsica, that most memorable car. But I mean,
iconic.
Jesus, where do you even start with this thing? Like when this was a new car, it was completely invisible in the United States as a Corsica. I'm sure the Tempest was the same way.
Yeah.
To the point where, I don't think most people would even know what a Corsica is if you asked them right now. I couldn't describe it. So
yeah. I will say somehow this came up in conversation. Maybe the most famous pop culture reference to the Pontiac Tempest was from My Cousin Vinny, where they got into the rear-mounted transaxle and independent suspension, whatever the hell was going on that caused Marissa Tomei to be able to decode the tire tracks, thus getting the cousins off for the murder charges. We were thinking that we've never seen a My Cousin Vinny theme, and it would be kind of funny to do one with this Pontiac Tempest as opposed to the 63 or whatever it was supposed to be in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be perfect. Man.
All right. Lemons build. Again, many to choose from. We always love to see a Corvair. Never seen one of these Rancheros. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
God, am I going to change my vote midstream? I think I am. So I was going to pick the 58-ish Chevy because, like Eric said, we've seen a couple of these, not mainstream baby boomer vintage cars race in Lemons, and they look so awesome on track. And we don't really care so much about the budget on one of these. We just want to see them out there. But I think as long as we're going with that theme, why not get the weird year Ranchero or whatever this is with the crazy windshield and the crazy pillar and the weird slanty back window and all of that. I'd love to see one of those on a Lemons track.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you have a several car team sitting there also.
That's
unrelated
also true.
Parts. So
I mean, if you brought all of these cars to a single race, you'd essentially be guaranteed to win the IOE and get your money back for one of the entries. Well, two really, because the IOE you get cash and you get a free entry in your next race, so you would recoup some insignificant percentage of all of the tens of thousands of dollars it would take to turn these cars into race cars. But you'd be pretty much guaranteed that. So I recommend
that's priceless. And that's a lesson that you can take from this episode of Lemons Car Spotting. So be sure to tag your stuff Lemons Car Spotting, and we will see you guys next week.
See you then. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there aren't too many moving parts on these things. How hard could it be?
Just hit it with a hammer a couple times.